I stopped supporting my brother's family after he said, "No place for losers." That's why I wasn't invited to Christmas. Now he's losing it. I stopped helping out my brother's family after he flat out said, "No place for losers." That's why I didn't get an invite to Christmas this year. And now, it feels like he's completely losing it. Honestly, I was actually looking forward to Christmas this time around. For once, I wasn't scrambling to get everything done at the last minute. I had already bought presents for my parents, my brother Ryan, his wife Laura, and their kids well before the first week of December. I even grabbed some extra gifts just in case some unexpected guests showed up. I don't know why exactly, but I had this gut feeling that Christmas was going to go well this year. So, imagine my shock when my mom opened the door and said, "We don't want you here this year." There I was, standing on their front porch, holding a bag of wrapped gifts in each hand. At first I thought she was joking, like, this has to be some weird prank. I even started laughing a bit, until Ryan's voice cut in from behind her. He said, "This is no place for losers. You're really wearing on all of us." I just stood there, staring at my mom. My dad was somewhere inside, but my mom didn't back down, even though she looked uncomfortable. And Ryan? Man, he was acting so arrogant. I felt a mix of humiliation, anger, and confusion swirling inside me, but somehow I kept my cool. "Fine," I said, nodding slowly. "If that's how you feel." And then I turned and walked back to my car. Sitting in the driveway, staring at the bags of gifts sitting on the passenger seat, something inside me shifted. No place for losers? Sick of me? Where's this even coming from? I thought. I figured Ryan was behind it, but I couldn't figure out why. I'd always been nothing but generous to him and his family. I'd paid for his kids' summer camps, bought school supplies, and even helped cover his mortgage when things got rough. And now, suddenly, I wasn't invited to Christmas? I wasn't ready to just accept it. I wanted answers, so I headed back to the door. I came back after putting the gifts in the car, and my parents were still there, quietly talking. Ryan was sitting on the couch, pretending like nothing happened while scrolling on his phone. I didn't bother knocking. I just walked in and asked, "What's going on? Why am I not welcome at Christmas? What did I do?" Ryan didn't even look up from his phone but smiled and said, "You really don't get it, do you? You've been slacking lately. The kids barely got anything from you this year." I was stunned. "What are you talking about? I spent hundreds on gifts for your kids. There are more presents in the car than anyone else's," I told him. "Last year you did more. This year, it feels like you just don't care." Ryan looked me straight in the eye and said, "It's embarrassing for us, honestly." I glanced over at my parents, hoping they'd say something, maybe defend me or call Ryan out for acting that way. But instead, my mom gave this awkward smile and said, "Well, you just bought a new car. You found money for that." For a moment, I didn't even know how to respond. "The car's on credit," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Even if it wasn't, how does buying a car suddenly make me responsible for Ryan's kids? They're not my responsibility." Ryan leaned back on the couch and replied like it was the obvious truth. "You make the most money. We're family. Families help each other. You've always done that." I looked over at Laura, Ryan's wife, who was sitting quietly in the corner. Her face was red, and she kept staring down at her hands like she wanted to disappear. I asked, "Is that your point? That because I've helped before, I'm supposed to do it forever? And if I don't, I'm a loser?" Ryan just shrugged. "If the shoe fits." That was the breaking point for me. I shook my head and stepped back. Turning to my parents, I said, "You know what? You're right. I don't belong here." Then I looked at Ryan and said, "Enjoy your Christmas. And good luck with those presents, because this loser is done paying for your life." I didn't wait for an answer. I grabbed the steering wheel tight and drove off in silence, still trying to make sense of it all. Was I really the bad guy here? For years I'd gone out of my way for this family, helping Ryan when he was struggling and making sure his kids never went without. And now, because I wasn't doing enough, I was called a loser and shut out from Christmas. When I got home, I just sat in the driveway for a while, staring blankly. My stomach twisted when I saw one last bag of gifts still in the van. I'd spent weeks picking out the perfect stuff, thinking about what my parents would like and what the kids would enjoy. And for what? I wasn't even supposed to be there? The more I thought about it, the clearer it became. This wasn't just about Christmas or presents. I'd been too blind, or maybe just too willing, not to see that this had been building for years. The truth was, Ryan had always counted on me. He and Laura had a rough start financially. Ryan struggled to keep a steady job, and Laura's part-time work barely covered the basics. Thinking it'd only be temporary, I helped out here and there, a few $100s here, a little more there. When they almost got evicted, I paid some rent. When their second kid was born, I helped with childcare. But what started as a little help stretched on for years. Ryan was the first person I heard from whenever things went south. Honestly, I always said yes because I cared about his kids, not because I felt obligated. I didn't want to see them suffer or go without. Looking back, I realized I'd created this whole situation. I'd been too easy to lean on. What was once gratitude turned into entitlement. The last straw was getting kicked out of my own family's Christmas because I wasn't doing enough. The next morning, with a clear head, I made my decision. I'm done helping Ryan. No more endless gifts to cover up his mess-ups. If he wanted his kids to have what I gave them, that was on him to decide. It wasn't an easy call to make. I knew I'd lose my brother's financial backing, sure, but I was also risking my relationship with him, his kids, and maybe even my parents. Still, I just couldn't keep being treated like an ATM instead of a brother and a son. They didn't reach out to me, and I didn't contact any of them either. Maybe they got the message, I figured. But I should have known Ryan wouldn't just let it slide. New Year's Eve came and went in complete silence. No texts, no calls, nothing at all. My parents, Ryan, and even Lauren never got back to me. For the first time in years, I spent the holidays totally alone. I wasn't expecting them to reach out, but when midnight passed and my phone stayed silent, it hit me kind of weird. I'll admit I thought about calling them a few times, but every time I went to dial, Ryan's sneer and those words, "No place for losers," played in my head. For years I'd been the one holding everything together, and they had the nerve to treat me like I didn't matter. No way. If that's what they wanted, then fine, I'd give them their distance. By mid-January, I started noticing something change. Laura, always the quiet one who avoids conflict, suddenly texted me out of the blue one evening. It was short and to the point. "I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I don't agree with what happened. Ryan won't hear it from me, but I thought you should know." I wasn't sure how to react, so I just sat there staring at my phone. On one hand, it was comforting that someone in the family finally saw things clearly. On the other, Laura's apology felt like too little, too late, since she hadn't said a word that night. Eventually, I replied, "I appreciate it, Laura, but this isn't something I can just brush off." I didn't mind that she didn't try to keep the conversation going. Then, early February, Ryan showed up at my place out of nowhere. I was in the middle of a work call when I heard a knock. At first, I ignored it since I wasn't expecting anyone. But the knocking kept going. When I finally opened the door, there he was, looking messier and more pissed off than I'd ever seen him. Before I could say anything, he barged in and said, "We need to talk." I folded my arms. "What's this about?" I asked. He was blunt. "You need to stop acting like this and start helping out again." I laughed, not because it was funny, but because I couldn't believe he was serious. "Helping out? You mean paying for your life? I already told you, I'm done with that." He shot me a dirty look. "You're the one with the money. Do you have any idea how hard it's been for us since you started acting like this? The kids barely have what they need. Laura's trying to hold it together, but we can't do it without your help." What I was hearing was unbelievable. "Are you even listening to yourself? You're a grown man, Ryan. You've got a wife and kids. If you want more money, go out and earn it. It's not my job to fix your problems." He fired back. "You've always helped before. Why are you being so selfish now?" "Selfish?" I repeated. "You want to talk about selfish? Let's talk about how you lied to our parents about me, turned them against me, and then kicked me out of Christmas because I didn't spend enough on your kids. And now you're here asking for more? You've got some nerve, Ryan." I raised my hand to cut him off before he could say anything else. "We're done here. I'm not giving you another dime, and I don't want to hear from you until you figure out how to act like an adult." He glared at me for a moment, then stormed out. I thought that would be it for a while. He'd probably grumble to my parents, but he'd eventually see I wasn't backing down. I was wrong. 2 days later, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. Normally, I wouldn't have answered, but something made me pick up. "Hello?" I said. "Is this Ethan?" a man's voice asked. "Yeah, who's this?" "My name's David Carson. I'm a lawyer." My stomach dropped. "A lawyer? What financial issues?" In a polite but serious tone, he said, "I can't discuss details over the phone, but it concerns financial contributions you've made to your brother Ryan and his family. Specifically, how those funds have been used. Would you be willing to come to my office to talk?" I was speechless. A lot ran through my head, but none of it was good. Had Ryan taken out loans using my name? Was he up to something shady with my info? Or was this some last-ditch effort to scare me into giving him more money? "Who's your client?" I finally asked. There was a pause. "I'm sorry, I can't reveal that right now." But I assure you, this isn't a lawsuit against you. It's more of an investigation. Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet. Curiosity got the better of me, and I couldn't shake the feeling this was more than just Ryan being Ryan. The next day, I walked into David Carson's office not knowing what to expect. But right after I sat down, he dropped a bombshell. He slid a folder across the desk and said, "Laura is the client I'm representing." I blinked in surprise. "Laura? Why would she need a lawyer?" Mark looked at me carefully, folding his hands. "She believes Ryan has been misusing the money you've given him over the years. She suspects he's been hiding funds from her and from you." My stomach churned. "Hiding money? What do you mean?" He opened the folder to show me copies of bank statements, receipts, and what looked like screenshots of text messages. "She thinks Ryan's been funneling your financial help into a separate account." According to what Laura uncovered, Ryan might have been using the money for gambling and other personal stuff instead of actually supporting his family. I stared at the papers in disbelief. "You're telling me that all those times I helped with bills and the kids' school expenses, none of that cash actually went to them?" Mark nodded seriously. "That's how it looks. Laura only found out recently and came to me because she didn't know what to do. At first, she didn't want to drag you into it, but given the situation, she thought you should know." What I was hearing sounded impossible. Ryan had been lying to me all along, spending money I thought was going to his family on who knows what. I wasn't sure whether to feel betrayed, angry, or just plain stupid for not seeing it sooner. My voice cracked when I asked, "Does Laura have any proof?" "Take a look yourself," Mark said, sliding the folder closer. I flipped through the documents. There were withdrawals from Ryan's account, big sums moving into a separate account in his name, and transfers from my account to his that lined up with the times I helped him out financially during emergencies. Then I saw transactions from that other account, including visits to fancy restaurants, online gambling sites, and even a few hotel stays. It was unbelievable. I shook my head and muttered, "And Laura knew about this?" "Not until recently," Mark explained. "She'd suspected something for a while but didn't have access to his bank info. Then she found some bank statements he left out, which gave her proof. That's when she reached out to me." I sat back, trying to process everything. "Does she want me to do something? Press charges or something like that?" Mark shook his head. "Not right now. She's mostly focused on protecting herself and the kids, but she thought you should know in case Ryan tries to mess with you more." I let out a bitter laugh. "Well, he already tried. He showed up at my house a few days ago demanding I start helping again." Mark frowned. "That fits with what Laura told me. Ryan's feeling the heat now that your support stopped. He might be in deeper trouble than even she realizes." Looking at the folder, my mind raced. Part of me wanted to go confront Ryan at his place, but I also knew that'd just give him satisfaction because he'd gotten under my skin. "So, what's Laura planning?" I asked. Mark hesitated before answering. "She's weighing her options. She wants to make sure she and the kids are safe, both financially and otherwise. If Ryan's behavior gets worse, she might file for separation or take other legal steps." Hearing that hit me harder than I expected. Laura always seemed like a kind, devoted woman who'd stick by Ryan no matter what. If she was ready to walk away, things had to be really bad. I felt a mix of anger at Ryan, sadness for Laura and the kids, and guilt for not seeing how bad it was sooner. I thanked Mark for his time and left the office. But more than anything, I felt this strange relief. For the first time in years, I wasn't carrying Ryan's burden. And now that I knew the truth, I wasn't going to let him control me anymore. Even after leaving the lawyer's office, I couldn't stop thinking about everything: his gambling, the hidden money, and Laura quietly planning her next move. I was right in the middle of my family's drama, something straight out of a soap opera. I stayed away for the next few days. Didn't call my parents, didn't reach out to Ryan. But apparently, he didn't like the silence. One evening, just as I was about to eat dinner, his name popped up on my phone. I thought about letting it go to voicemail, but I felt like I had to answer. "What do you want, Ryan?" I asked. He didn't waste a second. "We need to talk," he said, voice strained and almost desperate. "You said something to Laura, didn't you?" I raised an eyebrow. "What are you talking about?" "Don't play dumb," he snapped. "She's been acting weird since Christmas. Now she's talking lawyers and separation. I know you've been putting ideas in her head." I couldn't help but laugh. "You think I'm the problem? You're the one who lied to her, hid money, and gambled it all away. If she's fed up with your crap, that's on you, not me." Ryan paused for a second before finally muttering, "You don't know what you're talking about." I shot right back. "Oh, I think I do." I could feel the anger rising in my chest. "Laura told me everything, The secret bank account, the gambling, the money you blew through while I was out here bending over backwards trying to help you. You're a damn joke, Ryan. He tried to yell something in response, but I cut him off. Here's the thing, I said, cutting him short, and before he could get another word in, I hung up. My hands were shaking, but it honestly felt good, like I finally let go of years of frustration I'd been bottling up. He'd taken advantage of me for the last time. I was done bailing him out. I was done being his safety net. If Laura left him, that was on him. And if he dared to drag me into his mess again, I'd make sure everyone knew exactly what he'd been up to. The fallout came quick. The next day, Laura gave me a call. Did Ryan call you? She asked cautiously. Yeah, I said. He wasn't too happy. Did something happen? She asked, her voice tense. I brought up the gambling, I said. And the hidden account. He admitted to some of it, but I'm guessing he's still trying to play it down? There was a pause. Yeah, she said. He's still trying to act like it's not a big deal. You okay? I asked. She hesitated again. I'm fine, she said, though I could tell it wasn't the whole truth. But I'm tired of making excuses for him. The kids deserve better. Hearing that hit harder than I expected. I always knew things weren't perfect between them, but that right there, it felt like the start of the end. And somehow, it made me feel sad. Whatever you decide to do, I've got your back, I told her. Thank you, she said softly. And I'm sorry for everything. The way we treated you at Christmas, it wasn't right. I should have spoken up. We talked a bit longer, and when we finally hung up, I felt something I hadn't felt in a while: closure. Ryan may have wrecked our relationship, but Laura and the kids weren't the enemy. And if she had the strength to finally stand up to him, I wasn't going to hold any of that against her. Still, I had a feeling Ryan wasn't done stirring the pot. A few weeks later, I got a short text from Laura. Just 3 words: we're going today. Turns out, she was leaving the state with the kids while Ryan was away on a so-called business trip, which, if I had to guess, was just another excuse for him to blow money gambling. She'd packed up their stuff, rented a moving truck, and left without saying a word to him. At least not yet, not until she got everything in place legally. I called her immediately. I just couldn't stay anymore, she said quietly. I can't keep pretending like this is okay. What do you need? Are you all right? I asked, genuinely worried. She hesitated. I was hoping you could help me, just a little, at least until I get settled. You don't even have to ask, I told her. I've got you. So yeah, I did end up helping her and the kids. But for the first time in years, it didn't feel like I was being taken advantage of. It felt like I was doing the right thing for people who actually appreciated it. When Ryan got home and found the house empty, he completely lost it. Called me in a rage, screaming about how I'd ruined his life and how I'd turned Laura against him. I let him vent for a few minutes, then calmly said, maybe if you'd spent more time being a husband and a father, and less time chasing bets, none of this would have happened. And before he could spit out another excuse, I said, but hey, good luck with that, and hung up. The kids are adjusting well at their new school. Laura's got herself a steady job and finally feels like she's got control of her life again. As for Ryan, well, I've heard he's still out there blaming everyone but himself. But honestly, that's not my problem anymore. And if you want to call this a happy ending, then yeah, I guess this is it.